Hey, everybody, and welcome to the premiere of the Cover Band Show. This was an idea I had a while ago. I thought, let's do a show about cover bands. I've been in and out of cover bands for probably 30 years, and there's a shit ton of stories to tell about being in a cover band. And, well, we'll be talking about those and some other things. But and then I thought, I'd really like to have a co host for the show. And who do I know better than my own brother, who also has had many, many years in a cover band? So let me bring him on. Everyone, this is Denskilmusic. How's
Hey,
it going?
good. How's it going, Hack?
Good, good. Literally made it down to the wire.
Yeah,
Anyway,
30
so let me just say hello to a few people that joined us, and then we will get into the discussion here. We got Quentin James. Can't wait, bruh. Thanks for being here, Quentin. Mitch Heyman is with us. BC Rich. So 581 welcome. He says, so is it just me or is this virtual club like infinitely nicer than any place any of us have ever played? Where's the broken chairs? Exactly. Yeah. Cushman, New York City. Welcome. Spencer Cron. There's a guy I know that plays in does a lot of gigs. Like I think he's going on Friday. Lars Guitars. How are you? Just catching up here. PJ Kobe. Nice to see you. Gussie Wells. How's it going? Janice, welcome. And just going down here, make sure I'm catching everyone. Marion Hill, how are you? Nice to see you. Vincent Leroy, welcome. We got everybody. And it just jumped on me. Okay, hang on. Dwight Bailey, welcome. Lars Guitars. Russ Markard, welcome everybody. Yeah, so we're gonna Joe DeLenza, how are you? Nice to see you. Yeah, so we're gonna try this show out. Gonna see how it goes. If you guys dig it, we'll do more of these. In the meantime, check out Denskill Music. I have his YouTube channel to his YouTube channel below. That's also very entertaining. Should check that out. Gene Schmidt, how's it going? So for tonight, as an opening topic, we thought, well, let's talk about auditions. Now I know there's something squeaking in behind you or something. Wah, every once in a while. I don't know. Anyway, don't worry about it. So, I know you've auditioned for things. I've auditioned for things, and we've also been on the other side of it where we're auditioning people. So, and if anyone's got stories in the chat, feel free to pop them in about your audition nightmares. And yeah, so you got any? What was?
I think
Let's.
it's the squeaking one. Sorry, give me one sec.
Oh, okay.
There we go.
There it is. So what was the weirdest audition you ever went on, Denskill?
So, weirdest one. So in I think it was about 2009, 2010. I had it in my head that I wanted to diversify my playing style and make money as an actual gigging guitar player. That lasted about 3 weeks because I tried out. I tried out for a country band.
Oh boy.
Yeah. So it was weird because the band was based around like a particularly like strong singer who is we'll call him a personality. Like there's people watching who might know who I'm talking about.
Yeah, yeah, so just before we say, so no names are going to be mentioned during the course of the show, to protect their guilt or innocence. Okay, we're not mentioning any names here. All right, go ahead.
Yeah, so I had to learn about three or four country standards. Well, standards like oh man, it was so long ago I don't remember what they are, but it was like some Johnny Cash stuff. There was one Garth Brooks tune. Anyway, I went for it. In the sense of trying to improve my guitar skills and whatnot. But the singer was like super late and super drunk, and like a tuba player showed up for a country band.
Awesome.
Like and like I was talking to the guy. We were outside the studio. I don't even know if it exists anymore. It was on Lake Shore in Etobicoke. Anyway, I was chatting with the guy. I'm like, "Are you here for the same band as me?" And he's like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "Why would a country band want a tuba player?" and I never learned. So that was the strangest for me, Hack. What was it for you?
I got so many. I got so many. So, I went when I was trying to get back into playing, I started answering a bunch of ads, and it was just a potpourri of weird stuff. But there's a couple that come to mind. One this was in November, so I mean, if you're in Canada, you know November's kind of cold. I mean, it doesn't sound, but this is actually part of the story. So we, I went and answered this ad. I went to this guy's house. So I'm knocking on the door, and no one's answering the door. But I hear this music. This that quacking is still going on, by the way. I hear this music going on in the garage beside the house. So I go over to the garage and I knock on the door, and door opens up, and there's just a guitar player and a drummer, and they're wearing coats because it's cold. And I'm like, hey, I'm here to audition, and they're like, oh yeah, great man, great. Oh, you don't have to bring your amp, you can plug in here. So there we are playing, and And I'm like, "Well, where's the bass player?" "Oh, well, we'll eventually, we're gonna get this going. We're gonna get our bass player." And I said, "Well, where's the singer?" "Oh, well, we're gonna get this going, and we're gonna get a singer." And I'm like, "Okay, great." I said, "So," I said, "Where are you guys rehearsing?" "Oh, we're gonna rehearse in here." I'm like, "What?" These guys are already wearing coats, and I'm like, "Dude, what are you gonna do in January?" "Oh, there's a wood burning stove. We can fire that up." It's like,
Because that's good for your guitar neck.
"Oh yeah." Yeah, extreme heat and extreme cold. It's like, "Yeah, you know what?" And they said, "Oh, oh, you wanna join the band?" I'm like, "Oh, let me think about it." Oh, man, there's so many of them. The same day, I went to another house. The house was kinda, like, a little run down looking, kinda beat up. Like, "Okay, this looks a little sketchy." So I go in and knock on the door. This guy answers the door, and, he's like, "Yeah, yeah, 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 we're downstairs." So I go downstairs. This is where they rehearse. This guy was the drummer, right? He takes me downstairs, and we go inside this room that was basically only big enough for his drum set, right? And he had his drum set, and then he had a wall of half stacks on the other wall. And this is where they rehearse. And I'm like, "Holy shit, okay." So they asked me to learn some Scorpion songs and some other stuff that I can't remember. Anyways, so we're in that room literally with an amp right on your back, and if you lean forward, you'd fall into the drums. So you're like this. And they started playing, and it was so goddamn loud that my ears were killing me. It's like, holy shit, how did these guys rehearse in this? It was ridiculous. So then I just brought my little Marshall, right? And they're like, well, we can't hear you. So they plugged me into one of their stacks, which made it even worse. So I'm like, guys, I can't handle this sound, this noise. And so I'm outside the room. My guitar cord is going into the room, and I'm playing with them. I have no idea what I'm playing. I don't know. There's no singer. I forgot to mention that. Yeah, we're getting a singer. Yeah, we're getting a singer. No singer. They're just playing the music with no vocal. You can't even tell what song they're playing because it's just like a ball of noise in there. And it's like, yeah, and I'm like, "What?" And they're like, "Oh, yeah, 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 if you wanna join the band, we do all these festivals up north." I'm like, "Well, how far up north?" "Oh, like 6, 8 hours up north." "What?"
That's up north.
Yeah, so, they asked me to join, and I said, "Let me think about it." It's just, yeah, man, it's just, yeah, horrible, horrible stories.
There's so many. I mean, you look at the ads, one time I went to an audition with a guy. He's like, I've got I've got a full band, and I've got an album, and I've got a record deal, and everything like that. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. And he played me some of his stuff, and I'm like, that's interesting. It's got some elements that I liked. And I just casually like, did you play any of this stuff on it? And he's like, yeah, I'm the drummer and the lead singer. And I'm like, that that's unique. Um, that's cool. So I go to the guy's house and I bring my guitar and I'm like, so you got this album, you want to play this music live? So I'll I can be the guitar player. Like, what are you doing about the keyboards and the bass player? And the guy was like, no, it's just you and me. We're doing it all. And I thought, like, for a second, like it might be like a cool there was a trend for a while where there was some like drummer and guitar bands, like White Stripes kind of stuff,
Yeah, yeah.
like grungy kind of blues stuff, and I was like, oh, okay, like, are we kind of going for that? The guy was neither a drummer nor a singer. Like, he could maybe do one kind of like he must have paid somebody to mathematically correct all of his drum playing, and he was lying to me when he said he sang on his tracks, because like I heard like really cool harmonies and stuff like that. This guy like sounded like he was like when he actually sang through his mic, he does that annoying thing where singers get really too close to the mic and like start sounding like that.
Eating the mic, yeah.
They start eating it, and I'm like, I could tell he was an experienced singer. He probably didn't even write his own music, and he lived like in a basement apartment of basically a meth house.
Well, the meth was working. So we got a comment from BC Rich 581. He says we used to rehearse in an old butcher shop that we'd completely soundproofed. Oh my god, it was loud, so I'd use earplugs at rehearsal. Yeah, well, I don't mind playing loud, but not to the point where you can't distinguish the music that you're playing. I mean, that's and yeah, and I wasn't using earplugs back then. But yeah, hey Gary Joyce, welcome. Yeah, well, speaking of singers who can't sing,
Yeah.
um, I don't know if you, I can't remember now. So, for those of the that don't know, Denskill and myself actually had a project for about a year, and we were auditioning people. And I don't know if that was the band that we were auditioning singers for. I don't know if that was the one with you. I can't remember. There's been so many.
I know the story. You and I were auditioned by the singer.
Oh no, that's another story. We'll get to that story. That's a funny story. We'll get to that one. No, we were. So anyway, I can't remember what it was. So anyway, so the singer comes in, and we're like, okay, we're talking to him, whatever. Like, or I was talking. I can't remember if you were there. And I said, so have you sang with other bands before? And he goes, no, no, not really. I haven't really sang with anybody. And I'm thinking like, but you're here for a singing audition. And he's like, well, and he's telling me, well, yeah, but I do a lot of karaoke. I'm like, okay. So that's a singer, isn't it? Like if I play Guitar Hero, am I not a guitar player? Anyway, so um, we start playing, and for the life of him, he didn't know when to come in. He didn't know when to start. He didn't know when to stop. So like we're playing the intro of the song, we're like, now, now, and I guess because there wasn't a screen with a bouncing ball, he had no idea when to start singing. Oh
Yeah.
my god, yeah, that was pretty bad. I mean, the thing is when now, we'll get back to us auditioning, but when we audition people, when you audition somebody, you're paying money to do it. You're renting a studio, and you slot in as many people as you can, whatever, for whatever particular instrument, and you would hope that they could play those instruments. You would hope that they could sing if they are singers, and it's surprising how rare it actually is that somebody that shows up can actually do what they said to do. And I'm not talking about like, if we're auditioning a drummer that, I'm not looking for Neil Peart. I mean, I just somebody who could, for the depending the material isn't crazy complicated, just basics, keep a beat, throw in an odd fill, I'm not asking you to do like, 6/8 time and, like and then switch, just straight, and it's incredible. It almost feels like, when I watched, I mean, I don't watch these shows anymore, but at the time, when American Idol was first out, and you see these people that would show up and say, an audition, and you would listen to how, wow, man, like how delusional they are. And then and you don't really you don't think that's real until it happens in real life, where you have someone come out and Like what was the worst um experience you had in having people come in and try out for your projects?
Yeah, there there are people that sort of, you have to be. I take it as being a little bit gentle with them. So I had, and I think I shared this video, or the submission that I received for
Oh yeah, yeah.
this one particular singer that, again, I'm not naming names, protect the identities of folks, out of all due respect, but this individual approached me to join our cover band as a backup singer, and had been on Canadian Idol, or the Canada's Got Talent, or one of those types of talent
Right.
competitions twice. Has actually sung at the Sky Dome, or Air Canada Center, one of those two places. Like, really had like a quite an impressive resume. Knew a lot of local musicians by name, and was related to a lot of musicians. Um, Approached us for an audition, and with this resume, and we were kind of expecting, like, this whole discussion really revolves around expectations, but we were thinking like we were going to get some dynamite powerhouse kind of stand-up lead singer, and it's not like this person was misleading us as far as their achievements, because they had actually done that stuff. But this person, this individual, was, again, I got to be gentle. I don't want to be a dick, but like, I think this person, like, uh, they're just had a certain type of personality that you just need to let them know that that's okay. Like you didn't want to hurt their feelings. Like, they're a nice person, but they clearly had no talent or coordination, or like, this is just someone that was. People were kind of. I don't want to sound mean or anything like that. Like, you're
Yeah.
trying.
No, yeah, no, I get it. I mean, you don't want to
I,
be a dick because I mean, there have been times when I've been the person that showed up and I can't cut it.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
And and it's happened. I mean, I've gone for auditions and they're like, "Nope." You know, which is cool, right? There's I don't get every gig I go out for, and then some gigs I go out for and I get and it's like yeah, yeah, I'm looking at the rest of the guys that in the band or girls
yeah,
or whoever, and I'm like, okay, like I can tell immediately, all right, they're good, they're good, they're good, they're good, and I can also tell very quickly if they're beyond my ability, and if they end up saying no, I get it. I can't
yeah,
I can't play Ingve, I can't play whatever, but it all comes back to kind of, being aware of your self-aware of your abilities and not being, thinking you're better than you are, right?
yeah,
And, but then and then the weird the well, there was 2 instances where I was in that situation where I went to try out, and I'm hearing the other guys, and I'm like, "All right, this is gonna be quick." These guys, and they actually asked me to join that band, and I'm like, and I still like, "Really? Are you?" You know, and but they were actually they were very honest about the others that had come before me that were not very good. In my mind, I'm thinking, "They must have been horrible if you're taking me on." You know what I mean? Like, you gotta you gotta be self-aware and put things in perspective, right? But,
what gets it big, right? What are we looking for? Is like a mixture of chops, honesty, and like a good hang, right? Like,
yeah.
if it's those expectations that I was talking about. Like, if you go into a room, whether you're the auditionee and you're like, am I the best guy in the room, or are these people better than me? What am I auditioning for? Like, because, to your point, like, I once tried out for a hardcore jazz band, and I got the gig, but they told me I had to do work. and I was
That's
like,
fair.
and I was like, and they're like, we'll play with you and you're good, but you gotta learn these standards. You gotta learn the heads and the turnarounds and all these. And I was just like, okay, that's beyond my pay grade. I was once in a police cover band that lasted for a while,
I remember that one, yeah.
and that's a hard gig to
Oh,
get, man.
yeah.
You gotta practice your bloody ass off for that stuff, right? So at the same time, like, if you're what are you aiming at? What are your expectations? Are you playing ACDC, or are you who are you holding the audition for, right? Like, what like you said, be realistic about, what's your level, what are the guys you're playing with, are they blowhards? I personally don't think there's ever need to be a dick about it, but sometimes you really come across some funny assholes out there, and
Oh,
some just like died in the heart, like you're never going to change their focus, and they believe in themselves. Like, that guy, that drummer singer guy, was like, told me, like, straight out, like, with like completely blank on his face, he's like, I sound and I am the new Freddie Mercury. And I'm like, I was dumbfounded by his
yeah.
strength of his conviction, his self-belief. I was like, you really think you are?
I in a twisted way, I always envy those type that personality, right? Because most people, well, I should say most. I must speak for myself. Kind of beat themselves up about what they do.
That's because you have situational awareness.
Well, yeah, but wouldn't it be nice to be delusional for a minute? Like, is there a pill I can take for that? It's just to kind of like, oh, I'm the greatest thing in the world. Anyway, but yeah,
Yeah,
I don't
you
know.
know, it-
Do you remember when we were this? I remember was the two of us when we were putting that project together. I don't know, like 10 years ago now. And we had this. There's the other thing too. Like when you show up for an audition, you should, you know, you're in a room, you don't know anybody. I thought we were very cordial, and this guy was coming in for the bass to play bass, and this guy just well, at the time he would have been an older guy. Now he's probably my age, but just kind of came in like all kind of gruff, and sets up his bass, and I was tuning, and he's like, "Yeah, I don't want to hear you tune," and I'm like, "What?" Like, yeah, I want to work with that guy. I was like, "Come on, man, you just shot yourself down right there," or But and then I've had guys come, that show up and they're like super nervous, and they're this
that
one guy,
happens. Yeah.
man, this one guy recently, he showed up for something. He was a drummer, and this guy was like all nervous and like hyperventilating. He was I think he was my age, maybe a little bit older, and I literally thought this guy was gonna have a heart attack.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, like really, this kind of thing, and he's breathing hard and setting up stuff, and it took him like forever just to set up the friggin' drums. And then every song we did, he'd have to look at his phone and hear it again before he could start playing, right? Like this is a few years back, right? But you know, y- man, you wonder, you really wonder.
Yeah. I mean, it's that performance anxiety thing too. Like
Red light syndrome, yeah.
yeah, like, yeah, exactly. Like, I have been nervous at auditions, but I kind of just blast through it. But like, there's that whole level, like, are you prepared? Are you confident as a performer? Like, and like, I get performance anxiety every once in a while. I think it's normal, it's natural. Like, it all depends on sort of how you deal with it. But when you are, my point is that when you are nervous, or whatever state of mind you're feeling in, I believe that comes out in the music. That's going to come out on your audition, as well as how you carry yourself, how you conduct yourself with the other people. Like, are you on time? Do you know the material? Have you prepared it? Have you ever heard the songs? Like, some of these things are maybe like basic level expectations. It's like, like putting ourselves in the position of like looking to, I'm going to audition for a band. Well, what kind of style of music do you play? How big's your repertoire? How long you guys been around? Right?
Yeah.
What are expectations? Right? Like, you know, I've auditioned and gotten into bands that are like sort of overselling themselves. Like, we're established, we're playing these bars and clubs and doing this and that, and you show up there and you realize, no, they're just in a building stage, or they haven't figured out their lineup yet, or they don't know exactly what sound in terms of covers they want to cut, like what area they want to cover, right? So there's a
Yeah.
lot of those, and that can create anxiety. Like that can, like, there's so many unknowns in joining a cover band and auditioning or holding auditions for. I would argue that it's way more nerve wracking being the auditionee than
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, I mean, like, you mentioned i- if if you're doing an audition, it's like a job interview,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
And if it what gets me is when people show up and they're not prepared.
yeah,
You know, it's like, okay, here's 5 songs, and we're giving you 2 weeks, and and they're not crazy hard songs, and
right,
they're probably songs you've heard before, so they're not totally unfamiliar.
yeah,
And here's 2 weeks,
yeah,
and what really burns my butt is, you know, because again, you're paying for the studio and this and that, and they'll show up, and they got to listen to it before they start playing, or they don't know when to come in, or they don't know their parts or whatever. I'm like, why are you here? Why are you wasting my time? That's and you're not going to say that, because again, you want to be, we're Canadian, we have to be polite, right? It's in the Constitution, right? But that's what you're thinking. It's like, man, like, we got 3 other guys lined up, and you're making other people wait that maybe have learned and done their bits and whatever, and yeah, it's nerve-wracking. It's nerve-wracking.
yeah. Like there's definite, like there's a different set of nerves or set of parameters when you're holding the auditions. Like I do get a bit nervous because I'm like, are any of these people going to fit in? Are they going to be prepared? Are they a waste of my time? How do I be nice to them? Like there's immediate things where I see red, where if someone's learning something on the fly, they're like, no, I'm good. I'm just gonna feel the song out. It's like, no. You're playing, say, a Beatles song. Like, you're not just gonna improvise over. Like, I don't care how good you are. Like, I cannot stand it when people learn stuff on the fly or are not prepared. Um, Another turn off, to be honest, is bravery. Is so like there's I can you can see it in a musician and a performer when they put it out there and they overcome their nerves and they just put themselves out there. They really go for it, right? And you can tell in a player when they're just like not brave, or they're not like they're trying too hard because they're too much in their own head, right? Like that's a sign of you got to put more time and you got to play with more people. Like a lot of people haven't really ever played a live gig, and so they're like, I'm gonna go audition for a band. Like, you've played millions of shows, I played hundreds of shows. Like, it's more preferable to have someone that knows how to go through that storm and doesn't have that stuff. Like, I'll call it for what it is. Like, if it's a job interview, like, I'm gonna take somebody that's got that experience over someone that doesn't, and kind of tenses up, right? That can
Yeah,
really
you
ruin
got
on.
I mean, going back to that, you kind of have to have your shit together in the sense that, oh, here, I mean, where you got people answering ads, and you're trying to put together a bar band or something.
Yeah,
You got people answering ads, and it's like, do you have a car? And you have to even ask this. This is what kills me.
yeah, yeah.
You have to ask. Like, okay, when
No,
you're in your 20s and you have to ask, I get it. But
okay, yeah,
dude, you're in your 40s and 50s, and you still have to ask, and you still have to put down in your ad, must have own vehicle, or must must have
gear.
You
Must own
must have
drum.
own gear. Yeah,
Yeah.
you know? So, yeah, it's like you basically you have to have your shit together, you know? And you have to be able to show up to rehearsals, and then when the gigs come, you have to be able to do the gigs, you know?
Yeah.
And sometimes, like, people will answer, this is again that thing about showing up and not wasting your time. They don't have either, and they're like, "Yeah, I wanna, I wanna be," because there is, if you want, if you're in that kind of, you know, you just want to play with other people, man. There is, especially I noticed too, the older, you get, you're gonna find a lot more guys. They just want to get together on a Friday night, have some beers and jam, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's
Oh,
no
absolutely.
pressure. There's no pressure. You go and you audition for them. Oh yeah, Bob can play a blues and B. All right, you're in. Like, it's just whatever. It's, that's great. But if you're auditioning for a bar band, you have to have your gear. You have to know. Oh, here's the other thing that, dialing up tones and having tones,
It's part of
right?
your right. Yeah.
You have to be able to, I mean, if you're gonna play in a bar band, I mean, and I've seen this, and I'm not gonna name, again, not naming any names to keep everyone innocent or guilty, protect the innocent or guilty. But I've seen guys do entire gigs, and they could be playing anything from Brown Eyed Girl to Mustang Sally to Beatles to, whatever, CCR, and all they have in their arsenal is like a heavy chorus clean and
Or
an
a heavy metal
80s
tone.
80s super compressed, 80s metal tone. So if it's dirty, it's 80s metal tone. If it's clean, it's super chorusy. It's like, man, you have to, because it's more than just, auditioning, to my mind anyway. If I'm auditioning for a bar band and they're saying, okay, these are the 5 songs you're going to play, it's not just a matter of learning how to play the 5 songs. It's, I mean, not necessarily like dialing in the tone exactly like it is on the record, but be in the ballpark, right? Be able to, play in that style tonally as well as musically, right?
So I mean, heck, we've got a great list of stuff that you have to have ready. You gotta, the songs, be on time, get your tone together, um, have a good attitude. Like, it's easy to see why an audition would be nerve wracking or intimidating for some folks. Like, it is kind of asking a lot, and not to. I think you brought up a good point. Like, between, I don't want to, we all love music. Like, so, like, I consider myself a hobbyist. I'm not a professional. I play gigs.
Oh, I'm a weekend warrior too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm a hobbyist, right? But, like, I've played gigs, but there's nothing stopping. I encourage folks to get up and play, and like, try and go for those first gigs and get over some of those humps. I think the enjoyment of playing music with people and, like, like, going for an audition and making it, and, like, knowing the tunes, and just putting out a good effort is worth of it, in and of itself. It's
Yeah.
uh it's a good goal to reach for as a guitar player, right? And, like, I do, with my cover band experience, I kind of pride myself a little bit on being able to play, like, all these different styles and stuff, because I motivate myself. Like, you kind of have to when you're in cover band, right? You got to
Mhm.
learn Brown Eyed Girl, you got to learn your Mustang style, you got to learn all these tunes. I think it's good for your musical training, good for your brain, like, and so that obviously can create some tension and some anxiety. So it just increases the list of demands of how hard it is to be in a cover band and put on a show. Because, I mean, we're on the inside, so we know what it's like spending that time. Okay, I've got to get this right tone. I've got to get this right, solo part right. I got to punch this. I got to punch this boost right when my solo comes in, and I got to step on two. So that there's something to that, right?
Oh yeah, there's a lot to that. That's something that really you only get from a lot of rehearsing the music, or and then trying to duplicate that, in front of people. There's a couple of comments here I want to read. Scott Ruse, welcome. He says, I've only ever joined a band from jamming with friends. I was definitely very nervous during the first gigs.
Mhm.
Yeah, that'll be another show. We'll talk about the whole gigging hump because that is uh, gigging. You rehearse like crazy. A rehearsal will prepare you for the gig, but it's two separate worlds. Lucius Blackwood, welcome. What I hate is when people show up that have little interest in the style you were looking for, in spite of all the conversations you had ahead of time and long lists. That's yes, and welcome to the channel, Lucius. Yeah, what one thing that I notice on a lot of ads is they will put their set list there. This is what we're playing. So, you're looking at it like, is this music that I want to do, or am I just going to show up and, 3 months in and start bitching about, these songs and those songs and whatever.
Yeah.
And I don't care who you are. If you're in a cover band or a bar band, you've sold your soul about a million times playing stuff you never want to play ever again in your life. But you
I'd
know,
like
at the end
I,
of the day, if you're doing a song, okay, if you're doing a song and you hate it, but people love it, when they get up, you got to keep doing that song. Sorry, Dennis, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I want to parlay that into another topic like set lists and like set list like playing songs you hate like as part of we should have another show if people like
We got there's a million topics we can cover. We're
yeah
just trying to stick with audition, but yeah,
yeah
this could yeah. This is why I'm trying to like, you know,
we can
if
say
if again if people dig this show, if you like it, hit the thumbs up, subscribe. This show, if you guys are digging it, and include your comments too below, and we'll keep going with these shows once a month. They'll be once a month if we keep going. Um, Michael Easter, imagine limiting the booze would be another concern. Oh yeah,
uh,
yeah,
yeah been in bands with drunkards and stoners and it sucks you
yeah.
know
Well, this is going back a long time ago, but one project that I was with, we get to rehearsal, right? And we rehearse and sound great, and we go for like an hour and a half, and then we take a break, right? And I would maybe open a beer, one beer, and they would be out, with the
yeah,
wacky tobacco, and then whatever they came back afterwards,
fuck,
we might as well have just left at the break. Like there's no point because like nothing happened. It was a complete waste of time. It took a year just to get up enough material to do a bar gig, whereas it could have taken 6 months if that second half of rehearsal wasn't a waste every week in, week out, right? So, yeah, there's a lot of yeah, that's bad news.
that's part of the scene in some cases right and I mean it's that no judgment here but anything that gets in the way of the music is a problem I think
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Not making rehearsals, all that
could
kind of stuff.
could be
Yeah,
chicks or dudes like whatever you're into like
yeah,
whatever
yeah,
gambling who knows like whatever the hell you're into video games
yeah.
whatever doesn't matter sports I used to I was in a band with a guy that was like a diehard sports fan and would not show up to rehearsals if like his team was playing and it's like sorry man
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, you were gonna tell that story earlier about that one guy that we both, auditioned for. I'll let
yeah
you
we
tell
come
that
up
story because it's fun. Again, no names.
I was gonna say maybe we'll let the audience come up with a funny code name for this individual, but I guess the thing I most remember about him was the size of his ego and his hairstyle. They were kind of a mess.
They matched.
You know,
Yeah,
was this was this individual that Hack and I kind of played for was very specific and very demanding and had a very clear idea in his own mind about what perfection was and what a great two guitar rock band should sound like, and he was very particular. I think he can correct me if I'm wrong. He mentioned he'd recorded a lot and put out a bunch of albums. I seem to recall him like just talking himself up quite a bit.
I don't remember albums, but okay.
Yeah, yeah. He was what's the word I'm looking for? Big, big in life, like life legends, like just, but in his own head, right?
Yeah.
Uh, and very demanding. Not a lot of talent, not a lot of singing ability. I remember, I think we tried a bunch of covers, and he brought in this ace bass player that was
Yeah.
who seemed like a stranger, was just like too cool for school to be there. And and then I think one of the tipping points was, I think you mentioned to you, Hack, he didn't like me, or he didn't like my guitar playing or something like that.
So here's okay. So so here's the funny part about it. So I went to audition. I I answered the ad and I went to audition. And before I even auditioned, he wanted to get together and just shoot the shit. And I'm like, all
Oh,
right.
that's he had a huge crush on you. That was the other thing. Didn't you go
Well,
for prom?
I used to be more attractive, but anyway. But so anyway, so we get together and we're having a coffee at a Tim's or something, and he's telling me all this stuff, and I'm like, yeah, yeah,
First
yeah,
date?
that's cool. But it's all him, like like getting
Yeah.
a word in edgewise, like, it was all him, right? Okay, okay, okay. And then I'm like, so like when are and oh yeah, 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 yeah. I'll call you. I'll get my bass player friend and my drummer friend and this and that. Da, da, da. So okay, so I went and I to play, and I don't remember if there was. I think there was no. There was another guitar player there, and the other guy was really really good, like way better than I was. Anyway, so we went, we played, whatever, and he's like, "Yeah, man, yeah, I want you to join." I'm like, "Oh, okay." Yeah, again, one of those surprise, a bad toupee. Yes, Queen Bee's in the house. Yeah. So, yeah, bad toupee. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, anyways, so so I went, and got together and jammed or rehearsed, whatever. They wanted to do bars and stuff. I'm like, okay. And he was like, I can get us into this fancy room and that fancy room and this fancy room and all this kind of okay, that sounds great. Yeah. So anyways, so after a couple of rehearsals, the really good guitar player quit. And so it was just me. So he's like, "Hey, you know anybody, whatever?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I know a guy." And he's like, "Oh yeah," and I said, "Yeah, I know a guy. He's my brother. He's really good, like way better than me." And he's like, "Oh, okay, okay." So I told you about it, and you went and you rehearsed, auditioned, right? And you're playing all the shit that I couldn't play, and I'm thinking, okay, this is a done deal because I was always looking for something that we could do together, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And anyways, so then a day or 2 later, I get a call from him. He's like, "Yeah, this and that. I think I'm gonna go in another direction." And I'm thinking, "Oh, you're gonna get." I'm thinking he's gonna get rid of me, right? And he's like, "Oh, so you're gonna get rid of me?" He goes, "No, no, no, no. I want you to stay. I want you to stay." But your brother. I'm like, "What?" Okay. Whoa. But anyway, it didn't last much longer than that. He brought in a keyboard player, and then all he wanted to do was Beatles songs and more Beatles songs and more. It's
Yeah.
like, okay, everybody's gonna contribute to what we're gonna play, and it was always him, and it was always Beatles. Now I love the Beatles, don't get me wrong, but I don't want to just do Beatles, right? So
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, like that, Beatles is not easy to play either. Like,
no, well he thought he was John Lennon. That's who he thought he was. Listen to me. He'd send me like clips of him singing. Look, I sound just like John Lennon. But anyways, yeah,
yeah,
that's
there's a lot of delusion out there, and as someone that I have an appreciation. Like, I talk to crazy people all the time, Like I get it. I don't know. I don't respect it, but like it's interesting to me. Like it's entertaining, like seeing all these different flavors of crazy and like these different kinds of egomaniacs running around. Myself being one of them, I'm sure. Like I'm just as
Yeah.
guilty of it, right? Probably lost in my own head of delusions. But the thing is, like, there's people that actually trying to make a go out of it. you know?
Well, you know, I
It's just
mean,
gonna turn into a wall.
when I tell people this story, they don't believe me, but this is true. This is years ago when we were looking for a drummer. This is years ago, right? And man, I kid you not, 18, 1, 8, 18. Either, yeah, I can, yeah. Did you learn the songs? No, no, it's easy stuff. I can not even could keep a decent beat. And guys are showing up like they were like drum heroes. Like they had their name on the kick skin and they would put it
Yeah.
on. Okay, I'm not kidding. And then it's like, oh yeah, I played with this guy and I played with that guy. Okay, so let's straight four on the floor. Could not do it. I was like mind blown, mind blown. Right, guys were showing up. This one kid showed up. He's had the Swiss cheese symbols. All this gear. He's like, send it all up, whatever. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. Like nothing. Ah, you know, how many? Just how much money did we waste on renting rehearsal spaces to have 3, 4 come in a day, and none of them could play. And the stuff that we do, it's really like bare bones, really simple stuff. Could not freaking do it. I couldn't believe it. 18 guys.
Yeah, it's devastating. One of the last cover bands that I had that I just folded up recently, we put up an ad for another rhythm guitar player, backup singer, and had 13, 13 responses, and of those, six lined up auditions, and zero of them actually showed up or had anything prepared. Like there was no auditions. Like there, like the
Oh,
date
man.
was studio was booked. Like we showed up, like we're ready, waiting. Zero. And I'd call them and I'd be like, "Hey, are you coming to the?" Or, "Oh yeah, sorry, I forgot about it. Or I'm busy. I'm away this week." Like, you know, you don't want to, man. You don't want to work with these types of people, right? Like,
No.
it's
It's like,
it's
"Hey, we've been working for a whole year and we have a first gig lined up. You gonna come?"
yeah,
Yeah, you can't if there's even a doubt in I mean, like that basically is a predictor of future. Like if there's any doubt in the reliability, like that's the thing. Like when you're auditioning or you're on the other side of it, yeah, you're looking at attitude. Are they a good hang? Do they, you know, I mean, they don't have to be again, the level of material. I mean, if you're in a Rush tribute band, yeah, they got to be damn
God,
good players. But, for, what we do, they gotta be half decent, whatever, whatever, but it's, are they gonna they gotta show up, man. They gotta show up for rehearsals. They gotta show up for if there's any doubt in your mind in that, and it starts at the audition,
yeah,
that's like, you know I got another funny quick story. This is sort of a full circle story. So, when I was auditioning 100 years ago, right, for bands when I was trying to get back into it, one of the auditions was, with this one band at a studio, and I get in there and, it was they had a bass, guitar, and drums, and they had a guy, singer. So, they was all set up. They're just looking for a second guitar player. And so I get there, take out my guitar, plug it in, and the first thing, like the other guitar player says to me, he goes, "Hey, you're standing in the wrong spot." What do you mean? My amp is here and I'm here. No, you gotta stand across it, diagonal, so the amp is Music is coming to you, so you can hear yourself. And I'm thinking to myself, you know what? I don't think I've ever been on a stage that the amp has been 5 feet in front of me and me staring at it. I don't think that's ever happened. I'm just saying. Okay. So anyway, that was the first thing. Okay, fine, right? So to make him happy, amp was tilted this way. I was diagonal, so he could be diagonal the other way. Okay, fine. So we start doing the songs. They asked me to learn some songs. One of them was Centerfold by Jay Giles. I don't know why I still remember that, but anyway. So we're playing, and the drummer in that band, it was listening to him drum was like it was listening to a guy like deadlift 500 pounds, like. Ugh. For him to hit the crash, it's like, oh, I gotta lie down and hit the crash. Like it was not good, right? Not good. Anyways, so I did my bit. Hey, if they're other than the masterful guitar, the guy, this guy had you could tell. Oh, he thought he was great, right? Okay, whatever. But the rest were cordial. Okay, let me know whatever. They were seeing other guitar players, so I left, and 2 weeks go by, something like that. I don't hear a word, yay or nay. I don't know, right? So I still had the number, and I called up, and the guy that I was talking to was that same guitar player. He was the guy that was doing the ad thing. So I call him up. So what's going on? He goes, yeah, yeah, I don't think so. This and that, whatever. And I'm like, well, you guys, when you audition people, I said you should just let them know, like call them and say yay or nay. So, and he's like, yeah, the guy was again kind of rude, right? So okay, fine. So a year later, about a year later, right? I was putting my own band together, and I was putting ads up and whatever. And I get a phone call. As guitar player, we're talking, and this is what we want to do. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It all sounds great, whatever, whatever. And the more this guy started talking, the more his voice started to sound a little familiar, right? And I said, wait a minute. I said, were you in a band called? And he goes, oh, yeah. I said, yeah. You remember me? I'm the guy that auditioned and you didn't call back? And he said, oh. I'm like, yeah. Bye. What goes around comes around. Don't forget that, people. What goes around comes. I would want him anyway. The guy was, yeah.
Oh wait, I'm doing that wrong.
Yeah, you're doing it. Yeah,
Where's Quentin?
yeah. Where's Quinn? Wind it up. All right. Just getting caught up here. A few more people popped in. Brian S. How are you, buddy? Papa Blue. Gary Joyce. Gene Simmons just took a patent out on Hack's name. What? Am I gonna get something out of that or what? George Badar, how are you? Hey guys, in today's environment, could you not get prospects to send you video of them playing something before they get? Yes, you can, George. All the
Yep.
stories and everything that I'm talking about is generally like 10 years or more back. And back then it wasn't as prevalent. But today, yeah, I would say, hey, you got something I can listen to. You got the best, if you got a gig, is there something on YouTube, a gig? Because that's really, if you see that they're doing a gig, and then you can really see if they got their shit together. But yeah, but back then that wasn't really uh, an occurrence.
Yeah, that's definitely a game changer having that kind of content or something that you can show. Um, you know, and it's in this digital age, it's hard to get a gauge of people. Like when you're talking to them on email, like we used to phone call each other. Like it was, remember, I forget what that studio was, like that had like published that musicians want
Oh,
ads. Like
Rumblefish.
yeah, like if you're looking for a gig, like that's how
Yeah,
we used.
Rumblefish Studios, yeah.
Like that's how it was. So these days, it's hard to get that interpersonal connection. Like, hey man, like, oh, such and such musician, or hey, you play with this guy, I know that guy, right? Like nowadays, there's a bit more of a stranger danger vibe, and so it's hard to get that. Like when we were talking about like immediate turnoffs, guys that run their mouth and like drop names and like blah 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 blah. Used to you could put your bullshit detector to that right quicker back in the day when it was phone calls and all. Now it's harder to gauge like where somebody's head is at. Like, oh yeah, I'm a guru. Here's my online thing. Like, you kind of have to dig a little deeper to sniff out their
Well,
bullshit.
the one thing too is like if somebody like now, if somebody was answering an ad and they're saying, well, I do all these gigs, this and that, it's like, you must have at least one song from one gig on YouTube,
Something, right?
right? So
That
now I think it's a little the bullshit is a little harder to swing nowadays, right? I
that's
think it's
true.
a little harder to swing, right? Because most people will have something up, right? Or
Yeah,
or a clip, something. Most people will have something up. Hey, R2, how's it going, buddy? Yeah, so we got a few minutes left here. So, folks, if you dug the show and you like the idea of a cover band show, every month Dennis and I will come back and we will have another topic to talk about. There is a infinite number of things cover band related that we can get into here. If you're new to this channel, please consider liking and subscribing. That would be awesome. And you should do yourselves a favor and jump over to Denskill's channel. I have the link below. Not because we're related, but he's a sick guitar player and he puts out some really good content. Anything gear related, or you want to hear some crazy ass playing and original compositions, Denskilmusic, the link is below. Go check that out. And if you want to help support the channel, below I have links for merch like this and hats like that and so on. That would all help. There's a PayPal down there that would help. And also, I have my Facebook, Guitar Hack Facebook page down there and my Instagram. And yeah, please check it out and join up. And a lot of people are putting some cool stuff up all the time, and it's a cool hang. Trucker Kev, how are you, man? Pretty good idea. Let it run for a while. There's a lot of good, fresh stuff regarding cover stuff. What key to play in? Who's going to play what? Oh yeah,
uh,
there's a ton. There's a ton of things to
so
talk.
there's so much stuff that we can mine, and love to hear the comments, like what your guys' stories are. I
Yeah,
know, you know, you guys. I'm sure you guys have some crazy stories out there.
yeah. If you guys have stories you want to mention or if comments on the show, yay or nay, because this is, again, I was saying earlier, this is an experiment. You have the show, you guys are digging the show. We'll do another one next month. Let us know. Pop something down in the comments and let us know if you'd like to see another episode of the cover band show, and we'll do it about once a month. Is cool. All right, any last things you want to mention, Dennis, before we wrap this up?
Just want to thank you, Hack, for putting on the show, and thank all the Hack and Den School viewers and supporters. Please like and subscribe to the Hacks channel. We put out music every once in a while. We've always got some new stuff coming out. So Hack's playing on it. I'm doing the producing and whatever. So enjoy the crap out of it. Original music lives. Cover bands are cool too. Check out Hack's bands as well. Hit Disturbers.
Yeah,
Uh,
there's a whole live bands playlist you can check out, and then there's an original music. I have playlists for everything, and Denskill has playlists for his stuff too. So yeah, go over and check that stuff out. So
yeah,
again, I want to thank everybody for checking out the show. You guys rock. Hopefully this is so flying. We'll see you guys again next month, and have a good rest of your week. Hang tight, then.
peace out.
Cheers.